Greetings, fellow tarot travelers, tripping through the tetrahedral triptych of cards I shall lay before you. I'm Tarot Torch, and now we will discuss Brazil. Jair Bolsonaro, a former paratrooper and an extreme right-wing nationalist politician, took the office of the presidency for the country of Brazil before Brazil's Congress on January 1st, 2019. He came to power during a wave of crime and corruption in Brazil and has sworn to stop all criminal activity and all corruption in Brazil, a country of about 212 million people. He has nostalgia for the prior Brazilian military dictatorship that ruled for 20 years. His comments about gays, native people, left-wing activists, and minorities concerns many people worldwide. It is doubtful that Bolsonaro has any prepared plans to rid Brazil of those he disfavors, nor how he will stomp out all crime. Bolsonaro also supports the destruction of the remaining 10% of the equatorial rainforest despite climate change. These Amazon rainforests that Bolsonaro wants to burn down have been called the lungs of the world because of their direct link to the fundamental basic oxygen cycle of the earth. Bolsonaro is supported by both Netanyahu and Trump, but his trade policies concerning tariffs, ethanol, and steel will test these relations. Trump has already complained about these trade concerns. Bolsonaro wants to put the military in government positions, and because of this, the world is worried about possible future extrajudicial killings that could be committed in obeisance to Bolsonaro's harsh rhetoric. Bolsonaro is also likely to pardon any abuses of government, military, or police. Currently, the police kill roughly 5,000 people a year in Brazil without hardly any convictions of any police. Bolsonaro has made it clear that he wants to return to authoritarianism, with his brand of white male Christians in charge. He has called the military to join the police in controlling the civilian population of Brazil, while he makes sweeping statements about the educational system being rife with Marxists, whom he wants arrested, a statement that has been proven to be completely untrue. Bolsonaro says he will stop all drug use and gangs in his push to end corruption and crime, irrespective of public opinion. The problem in Brazil is not drugs, but uncontrolled gun ownership. People on the streets own, beyond normal handguns, AR-15 rifles and missile launchers because of no gun control of any sort. Brazil is a very violent country, and the death rate in Brazil for homicide marks it as the 30th country worldwide for homicides, with 60,000 killed in 2017. Because Bolsonaro is concerned with persecuting the left, gays, minorities, and gangs, but not dealing with the true root issue of guns, many will be arrested, tortured, and killed by the authorities, but homicides will continue unabated. Bolsonaro has made homophobic, racist, and misogynistic statements like blacks are lazy and Indians are unsubordinated. So past Brazilian presidents were noticeably missing from his inauguration. Lula, the last president of Brazil, watched the inauguration from a prison cell. When Lula was elected, Hundreds of people swarmed his inaugural Rolls-Royce as they and he rejoiced in the victory, exchanging handshakes and waving hands. No one swarmed nor dared to approach Bolsonaro's Rolls-Royce. A long, slow, burning, right-wing soft coup in Brazil has been in motion for a long time now. It began with the impeachment of President Dilma Rousseff in 2013 on derisory charges by a tilted parliament. When Bolsonaro gave his vote in the parliament, he did so by dedicating his vote to the head chief torturer of the military regime who tortured Rousseff herself. He then worked to get rid of President Lula, the most popular president in Brazil's history. Lula was sent to prison for solitary confinement, in isolation, for 12 years, where he's barred from all books, all press, and all journals, and is dispermitted any public communications. Lula was charged with an accusation of owning an apartment that he never visited and to which he owned no key, that thinly links him to corruption charges. Bolsonaro then worked to get rid of the head of the Workers' Party, the PT, by demonizing him in the press and mass media with scandalous lies and misrepresentation of facts. Most people think that Bolsonaro will use his anti-corruption rhetoric as a basis for arresting and assassinating members of opposing left-wing parties. Bolsonaro represents torture, and his only critique of South American dictators in the past is that they did not kill enough people. Paulo Guedes is going to be Bolsonaro's finance manager, who is planning to privatize everything and sell off the rainforests with no protests permitted. He also wants to pull Brazil out of Mercosur, the South American trade partnership, in order to exploit the rainforests completely and begin oil drilling and gold mining there. Is this what Brazil wants? Or were they duped into the wrong leadership? Is this what is best for our planet? Is this the ideal president for world trade? Will there be a body count to the Bolsonaro presidency, or is this just all rhetoric? Is demonizing and arresting the opposition party leaders and previous presidents good for Brazil's image? Will Brazil cause an extinction event horizon by burning down the remaining Amazon rainforest? Well, these are some very big questions, and there are no current answers available for them. And when there are questions for which we have no answers, it's a good time to talk with the tarot. The tarot may not answer our questions, but it certainly will provide us with very interesting counsel and give us an idea, or many ideas, of how things might actually arise and turn out. Today I've chosen two decks, the Thoth Tarot deck and the Trionfi della Luna deck. I use these decks when I'm really doing a reading for someone quite evil. The Thoth deck is a beautiful deck, but it has a very hard edge to it, and it's by Aleister Crowley. And if you want to find out the dirt on someone, it's a good deck to start with. And the Trionfi della Luna by Patrick Valença is a Marseille-style deck, whereas the Thoth deck is a style of tarot all its own. But the Trionfi della Luna is a Marseille-style deck, but it's not a traditional Marseille deck. And it's filled with, well, I would like to say B-rate horror film characters, but it's got pictures like this. And it's really amazing and beautiful art and does give very clear readings. And it will give us insight into the nature of Bolsonaro and the decisions that he makes. So we have the two decks of cards out, and so let's shuffle them, because that's what provides us with an authentic and legitimate reading And it keeps us all on good standing with each other to know that the deck is not in any way, shape, or form predetermined to turn cards. And here we go. I'm not the best shuffler in the world, but I enjoy shuffling. It gives me a few moments here to think about many things. In this case, Brazil. And then we'll put the cards to the side. Because the Thoth deck is so big, there's not a lot of room here for shuffling. And this deck is really hard to shuffle because it's so big. So anyways, if we get any shuffling in with it, it's amazing. I'm trying my best here. Put this deck here, and let's have a cut or two. 1, 2. And we go like this. I'm trying to keep the cards in the picture so you know that I'm not dealing from the bottom of the deck, but there's not a lot of room here. And with these cards, the Trionfi de la Luna, cut them as well. All right, so in today's reading, I'm only going to pull one Thoth card and 2 of the Trionfi de la Luna on either side. So the Thoth card is the Star. Well, the Star card is very interesting. Normally it represents innocence, naivete, beauty, and a connection with nature. But in the Thoth deck, it has more to do with the violence of creating a new universe, such as when stars supernova, that there has to be a change and transition from this level of consciousness of this world to the next. And it isn't implicitly a violent card, but it just has that type of force of nature associated with it. And of the Patrick Valencia cards, we have the 5 of Swords, which represents breakthrough. And we have, the Empress, who is the one in charge of making sure all people are in their place and doing their job. In fact, I think this card belongs in this direction. I mean, it looks good upside down, but really upside down is for Italian cards and right side up is for French cards. And this is Tarot de Marseille, so I'm going to assume it's that direction for today's reading. After all, the whole deck is upside down. I make that mistake often. I only read cards right side up. So here we have it. The past, the present, the future, or 3 aspects and facets of the same stone. So a breakthrough has just occurred. The knife is bloody, the sword is bloody. So a breakthrough has happened, but not without victims. We're going to see in Brazil the birthing of a new nation, the birthing of a new cause, the birthing of a new direction for Brazil. And the Empress will make sure everybody is in their place, everybody's wearing the right clothes, everybody has a job, everybody has the right amount of calories on their plate, that everything's going proportionately correctly. Although she herself is a little overweight. So what we see here is the fact that Bolsonaro is certain he's the great breakthrough and the great leader that the world has been waiting for, that he is some kind of emanation from the heavens, some kind of great enlightened being that will usher in some kind of new age, when in fact, he's the overweight, decadent leader who lives by false standards and wants other people to live in proportion, but he himself doesn't. And we see here also an absolute need in Brazil to become part of the living universe in a new and profound way. But the Empress is staring at that transformation, and she's not going to let it happen out of her control of her domain. But there is a breakthrough, and there is a birthing, as peaceful or as violent or as chaotic as it may be. There's going to be some kind of new emergence of new consciousness in Brazil. And there is the Empress wanting to make money from it, wanting to control it, wanting to own it, wanting to patent it, and wanting it to be hers. Well, you know, I'm not sure this really speaks so deeply to the actual circumstance. So let's see what the Star card is really about. Here we have the Eight of Cups, which is involvement, and we have the Four of Coins. And the Four of Coins is about stability, economic stability. So what Bolsonaro is hoping for is an economically solvent and stable monetary landscape from where he can practice his dictatorship. Because if he's solvent economically, the world will let him be. But underneath it is this involvement going on, like a rising tide, that people will unite more quickly under a common enemy than they would under any other circumstances. So let's see what the Empress card is about. We have the Queen of Coins, so like I said, she wants to prosper from it. Another overweight hag, as far as I can tell, wanting to prosper from the transformation of Brazil and its people. And we have the Four of Rods. And the Four of Rods is a very interesting card. The Four of Rods has a lot to do with stalemate and standing still in many circumstances. And so it looks like in the future of Brazil that there are plenty of forces that want to make money off the rainforests, off the people. They want to have a stabilized economy. They want to make money. They want to own everything. They want to sell off the oil companies so they can own that too. But there's a stalemate. There's something stopping them. And there's this rising involvement for the birth of a new consciousness that's coming. And there's a breakthrough leading to this new consciousness. So it looks like Brazil is in fact has the outer shell or appearance of a dictatorship. But underneath it, underneath the thin patina of fear, distrust, and abuse, there's some emerging great cosmic intergalactic wisdom and knowledge about being connected to the earth and the people and the right causes. And the people have broken through to this. They've touched that star. They know how meaningful the higher conscious plane is, and they're not going to relinquish it. They're going to get involved, and they're going to maybe choose peaceful means. And it's not about necessarily unseating anyone. I don't see any card here about revolution. The breakthrough card to a lesser degree, but it's in the past. I see this more as an involvement with people to lift them to a higher ground, lift them to higher morality, lift them to a higher consciousness, higher dimensions, higher wisdoms. And this is the key to economic stability. It's going to be through solar power, through wind power, not through burning the rainforest for oil, that if we burn the oil, we're going to destroy the planet with burnt oil or with no rainforest. Either way, it kills the whole planet. There's a stalemate because scientists will rise up and they will say, no, you cannot do this. We cannot burn that much petroleum and we cannot decimate that much rainforest. It will be an extinction event. And the Queen of Coins will look down at the involvement of the people. And the Empress looks across at economic stability and realizes undermining the whole earth and everyone dying doesn't keep money in the bank. But the Empress is also looking across at this burgeoning enlightenment. You know, many people think that the coming age of Aquarius will occur in Brazil. And I've heard people say that a new root race will arise from Brazil. There's much talk about Brazil being the future place for the world in the coming epoch of the next 2,000 years. And that's a long time. And this is what is underneath all of it. Underneath it all, when you peel back the onion skin, there is a powerful and beautiful emanating consciousness, like the musical drone going through the universe and through everybody's heart. And it's involving the people. It's getting them to join, and it's getting them to stop the abuses of the rich and the powerful. And it's almost as though now with Pluto in the sign of Capricorn, we're seeing the right wing take over and fulfill their plans that they've had in gestation for a very long time. And I'm not talking about right wing like the Republican Party in America. I'm talking about a real right wing, something more like an Adolf Hitler type right wing. And here comes Bolsonaro claiming that not enough people have died and torture's a good thing and let's get rid of them all. And he can't. There's something about Brazil. There's an irresistible force of nature that is somehow greater than everything. Both the Queen of Coins and the Empress stare at it because they need its light. The economic stability of the country depends upon it. The involvement of the people is there, interwoven with it, and the forces of negativity are stalemated. There's a breakthrough for higher ground. And we can't just sit back on our laurels and have faith that the breakthrough for higher consciousness will save us. We must get involved.